So what I will request first, that whenever we are going with the DevOps, what is the DevOps and other things. So I'll say that please visit YouTube, and on the YouTube we have like Naresh IT and the DevOps. If you go and search for that, you will get this video. This video is there a good introduction to the DevOps, maybe like 15-20 minutes introduction. So I'll see that I will say that please visit this video. It is an introduction given by me, and you will be able to see good information about the DevOps. So I'll say from the starting to end, what is exactly DevOps and other stuff, we can see that. So I will not play this video at this moment. I'm just showing you that where you can go and see that videos there. So what I will request, please wait till end of the session, because that way it will help you to understand what we are trying to cover and trying to go with the DevOps there. So in the previous session, we talked about something user management. Okay. Now in this session, we are going to talk about package management. So what I will request that we will go with the package management here. Now what is a package? So package, it is a collection of related files. It is a collection of related files. It is a bundle of associated files. Now, what it consists? It consists a lot of things. It consists program file. Okay, it controls sample files, configuration files, example files, manual pages, supported files, and so on. Okay. Now it consists of lots and lots of things along the line there. Now the package will also have some information, like it is in the compressed form. So transportation will become very easy. Let's say you have a package of 5 MB, but when it's compressed, it becomes 1 MB. So you will transfer the file with the speed 4x, that is 4 times faster. Once it downloaded, then you'll extract the package and then you'll go. Then you will have the signature. You will have unique signature. What is the signature? Signature is the authenticity of the file. That means the file is correct or not, you can look from the signature. And it will automatically done. It will automatically done by the system. So it will have the signature. It will check the authenticity. It will check the details of the file there. Now in Linux, so specifically we have two versions prominently used in the market, which is the CentOS and Ubuntu or RHEL. So when we are working with the RHEL CentOS, which is we are going to work with the two commands, which is RPM and yum. Okay, so what is RPM? RPM stands for Red Hat Package Manager. And yum is a yellow dog update modifier. Now why it is called yellow dog, why it is not called green dog, I don't know. We can figure it out. But it says as yellow dog update modifier. Now another on the Ubuntu, you go with the dpkg, which is the Debian package. And another is the apt-get. Okay, so these are the commands you will go and use while doing a package management. Now what is the package management? And as a DevOps engineer, what do you need to do in the package management? So number one, installation of package, upgrade of the package, removing of the package, maintaining the information about the package. So you'll try to do all these things as a matter of package management. That means you will go with all activities, installation, upgradation, removing of the package, and going with the information. Okay. So let's go one by one and see that. So first we will go with the how to get the information about package, how to get information about a package or packages already installed in your system. So you will give the command called as rpm-q. Q is for query. Q is for query. Query means you will ask the system and system will give an answer to you. Now that query has sub options also. First is -a, or you can say A option, which is for all, L option for listing, and information option. So you'll get the information. Then you can go along with another sub option. So these are the called as the sub options. So sub options is -a, -i, -l, -i. Okay, and then -f. F is for the file information. So to get the information, we will use this command. Let's say I want to get a list of all the files. So what I will say rpm-qa. What it will do? It will list out all the installed packages. What it will do? It will give me installed all the packages. Now you can run the same command rpm-q-a. Both are the same. Both are same. Either you can go with the qa or q-q-a. Then you will able to get the list of all installed packages. Okay, so we can go with that. Now what happens? Let's say there are a lot of packages are installed. What happens once you give this command? It will scroll up the screen, just go and go and go, and it will go with a lot of package information. So you don't want to scroll everything up. So you can say go page wise. So I'll say rpm-qa pipe less. Now what is this pipe? So pipe is a connector of the output of one command is given to input of other command. So what is a pipe? And what is symbol? Is the vertical line. What is a pipe? It is a command which will help to connect output of one command to input of other command. Okay, that is called as a pipe. So what we are doing? We are using rpm-qa. By default, the output will go to the screen. But you say, no, don't throw the output to the screen. Pipe it and get the output to the less command. So less is the command which will show the output in 24 lines. So what is the less? It is a command to show the output, page-wise output. So what is the less? Less is the command which is used to show the page-wise output. So that's why you'll break the output and you'll go with the 4 lines. So we are going with the batch 14. So what I will do, I will stop this server. I will go back. I will bring up our server. So our batch is what? 14. So we'll go with the batch 14 server. So DevOps training, batch 14, we'll go with that. So I'll start the system, batch 14. Okay. Now we will connect with this system. So currently it is in a black and white mode. So some people may not able to see in the black and white mode. So I will log in via PuTTY. So don't worry how I am logging right now, but we will see that in future. So don't worry about that. So I'll go with the network. I'll do that, some settings. I'll say go here, go here. So don't worry about this right now. What I am doing is you may not able to quickly get, so no problem. So don't worry about that. Okay, so I'm using the application called as a PuTTY, and using the PuTTY I will log in. But because the people at the back end will not able to see anything there. So we'll say DevOps user. So we'll log in as a DevOps user, which we have created in our user management topic, and we'll use that user to work along with that. Okay. So first time it will take some time. So let's wait, and then we'll start with our command, the RPM. I have given the password. Maybe I have given the wrong password. I'm not sure. Okay, I'll try to give the correct password. Yes, so I have given the correct password. I have logged in. Now I am logging as a user DevOps. Okay. Now I will run the command rpm-qa. Now if I give that, you'll see that a lot of package information has been passed on. Now there are a lot of packages are there. I want to see the output page wise. I don't want to scroll it up. So I'll say pipe less. So I'll click on there. Now it will wait after 24 lines. After 24 lines, what happens? It will wait for me. If I press space bar, it will go to the next 24 lines. Space, 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 24, 24, 24. It will keep on going. I want to go back. I'll say B, B, B. I'll say B button. It will go back, back, back. Okay. If you don't know space bar, press F, F, F for forward, forward, forward. Same thing again. So either you can go forward, you can go backward. Okay. So depending upon the, you can go either line by line by pressing arrow keys. So you can press the arrow keys, you can go one by one. If you want to go page by page, you say forward, 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 backward, backward, backward. So I can go back and forth. Okay. So this is how I will get the information. Now, how many packages are there? I don't know. So how to get the how many packages are there? So I will use another command. We know that what is the other command. We'll use the WC. W is called word, line, and character count. This command is used to count what? Word, line, and character. So I want to count the line. So I'll say WC-L. L means count the line. So what I will do, I'll use the pipe and then I'll use that. I'll say RPM-QA pipe WC-L. So what it will do, whatever lines are coming, it will count 1, 2, 3, 4, and it will make the sum. 1, 2, 3, 4, done. So how many packages are there? 290 packages are there currently installed. If somebody asks you, hey, what are the packages installed? You can say, hey, 290 packages are there. How you got it? RPM-QA pipe WC-L. Pardon? What is this command? So basically this will show you output in the page wise. You cannot see 290 lines at a time. You want to see 24 lines at a time. So you are using less. Okay. So see 24 lines at a time. Okay. Then RPM-QA WC, which will do the word count. So you are counting the lines and you are showing the lines there. Okay. I got it now. Now, let's say I am taking one package. This is the FX load and something. I don't know what is that FX load. I want to get the information about the package. So what I'll do, I'll say RPM-QI. I is for information. So I'll go with that. I'll do that. And here we go. So now you can get some good information. So package name, then what is the size of the package, when it is installed, and all the stuff you'll get. You see that installation date. We know that when we have installed. So all the details you will get about the package. But our focus should be here, summary and description. So what is? It is this is the firmware program to download firmware to FX and FX2. I don't know what is that FX, FX2. No problem. The program is conveniently able to download firmware into FX2, FX2 format or whatever stuff. So if you doesn't understand, no problem. Why? Because our intention is to get the information first. Understanding, not understanding is the later part. Okay, let's go and see the another package. So I'll go with that and say, show me some other package. Let's go one by one and see that long list. Okay, so we have a lot of list. Any package you want to see? Any package? Okay, so I'll just say this is like, for example, OpenSSL. I don't know what is that. So what I will say, RPM F1QI and the OpenSSL. Now I am using a putty client. Which client I'm using? Putty, or somebody say putty, somebody say putty. Now you can define your own name, no problem. But how to copy? So I'm doing a copy paste. Now why you should use putty? Now in this black and white screen, you cannot do a copy paste. In this black and white, this is called as a console. What is this called as? Console. So you cannot do a copy paste on the console. So that is why you are using putty. Okay. Now it is very easy to do a copy paste. For example, if I say RPM-QA this, that. Now I will select this. How to select the code? I will say double click on the line. When I double click on the line, it will automatically select. Now automatically select means automatically copy. Selection means copy. Now the line is copied. So what I will do? I will say RPM-QI and I will say right click. Which click? Right click, and it will paste. So double click means copy and right click means paste. Very simple. No control C, no control V. Don't try to do control C, control V. It is not going to work here. Double click means select the line, or if you want to select the particular part, I can do the selection here. I can do the selection here. Right? So this is like a copy. This is like a copy. Okay. When I press enter, now I'll get again information. RPM-QI. I'll get the details of the package. So how to find the information and details of the package? QI. So query and I option. Now I want to see what are the files associated with this package. What I want to do? I want to find out the files associated with the package. I'll say RPM-QL. L is for listing. L is for listing. So I'll say, okay, I go with the short name, no problem. I can go here. It says not available. I go with the full name. So here is the full name. So I'll say RPM-QL and the full name. Here we go. So many files are there. You see that? If I scroll up, you can see that lot of files are associated with that package. How many lines? I'll say WC-L again. So how many files are there in that package? 84 lines are there in that package. This is clear? Now, when you install a package in Windows operating system, it will always go into the one specific directory, which is the program files. It will go into the program files. But when you install a package in Linux, it will not go to the one specific folder. It is distributed across the operating system. It is distributed across the operating system. So somebody asks you in the question in interview, hey, when you install the package, where the file is stored? So you say it depends on the package. It may be distributed across the operating system. It may be distributed across the operating system. So it is not a one directory. It can be many directories. It can go and it can fit there automatically. You don't have to do it. It automatically do that. Okay. And what is the location? So you'll give this command and find out the location. So this is a directory called as library firmware. Now there is another directory called as user lib. Now there is another directory called user sbin, user share. You see that? Different directories, different locations, the file will be available. Okay. So when you install a package in Linux, it is distributed across the operating system, and the command to see that is the QL, RPM-QL. Is the command to see the files associated with that package. Now it will only show the files which are already installed. Means if the package is already installed, then only it will show. If you say, I want to do something package like this, I don't know. It says, sorry, it is not installed. So only it will give the list of files associated with the package which is already installed. If the package is not installed, you will not get the list. You will not get the list. So this is clear? So only install the package information and list you will be able to get with the RPM. Clear? Good. So we learn about how to get the package list, RPM-QA. We learn how to see the information, RPM-QI. We learn about RPM-QL files associated with the package. Now we will do the reverse thing. we will have the file name and we will try to find out the package name associated with that file. What we will do? We will do the reverse thing. Okay, we will say file associated with that package. Is clear? So you say RPM - Q and F. So F is for the file. Then I will go with that /etc/password. I don't know this password file came from which package. I don't know. I need to find it out. What I will say? Oh, it is coming from setup package. This file got installed using setup package. Right? So this is the reverse association you can get. So you know the file name, but you don't know the package. So how to find that? This is the way you will find that. Clear? Now let's go and create one dummy file. So I'll say how to create that. So it's a touch. It is a command to create an empty file. What is this command? It is a command to create an empty file. So I'll say touch and the file name and the path. If I want to give the path or directory or something, I'll say path and the file name. So we will create one file and it is an empty file. There is nothing in that file. It will create an empty file. Okay, so let's go and create that. So I'll say touch/temp. So I'll create a file in the temp directory and the file name is dummy.txt. I'll create one file. Let's go and check that the file is there or not. ls/temp dummy.txt. Is the file is available? No. So we'll go and create now. So I'll say touch/temp/dummy.txt. So I am now creating, let's say ls. You see that the file is present now. Now we will give this file to the RPM command. I'll say RPM-QF and I'll go with that file. Now let's say go 1, 2, and 3. So what it says? The file temp dummy.txt is not owned by any package. That means it is user created file. It is not came from any package. What it indicates? It is a user created file. It didn't came from any package. So the difference is clear. So how to know that this file is came from package or not? It will tell you exactly. If the file is from the package, definitely it will tell that this is from this package. If it is not, it will say sorry, I don't know. It is not from any package. Is clear? Good. So this is all about how to get the information. Okay. So this is how you will get the information about the packages which are already installed. Now let's go again back. I'll say RPM-QA. I'll scroll it up. Anything. Now you can see here something like postfix or blah 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 blah. Now let's go. What is the naming conventions we follow? What information I can get from package name? So here is the package name. So we'll go here. We'll say name of the package is postfix. Second is the version. What is the version? We have 2.10.1-6 something something. Now architecture, that means which operating system it supports. It says Enterprise Linux 7. If you try to install this package on 6 version, it will fail because it is saying that I need to get installed on Enterprise Linux 7. So this is says 7. So it says suitable for only for Enterprise 7 version. OS version. Okay, so it is only suitable for and that. And last is the sorry, please, I made a mistake. Sorry for that. It is a release. So make it as a release. So it is only available for the release release 7. And last is the architecture. The architecture is saying that x86 64. 64. So what is that? It is mean by it is a 64-bit operating system. It is suitable for 64-bit operating system. If you try to install it on 32-bit operating system, it will fail. So it will tell you all the necessary details, what is about the stuff. So if it is 32-bit, if it is a 32-bit, what you will see? So if it is a 64-bit, you will see something x86 64 or AMD 64 or IA 64. You will see something like that. If it is a 32-bit, then it will see something like that. 32-bit, it will say I386 or I586 or I686. Or sometimes it says no arch. No arch means it will have pure text files. What it will have? It will have pure text file. It will only contain text files. It will only contain text files. Now you need to understand this very well, because when you are installing a package as an administrator, you should know what is my operating system, what is my version, or what is a 32-bit or 64-bit. What is the 32-bit or 64-bit? Now how to know your operating system is which version? How to know your OS version? So if it is a CentOS or RHEL 6.x, you will say cat. Now you know what is the cat command. Cat is to see the file. I will say Red Hat release. And if it is a 7, what you will say? RHEL 7 or CentOS 7.x or Ubuntu. If it is that, you will say cat/etc/os release. You can find out, hey, which operating system you have. And what is the architecture? How to know architecture type of your system OS? So say uname-m. Now this command you should know by heart. This command, in any interview this question will come. How to know the operating system version? How to see the architecture of your system there. So let's go and see that. So let's go. I'll say cat etc OS release, and here it says, because I know that is a 7, that's why I given directly OS release. So you can see that CentOS version 7 core blah 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 blah. Okay, as this is the Red Hat system also, you can say cat etc Red Hat release. You'll also see both the things. Okay, because in the Red Hat you will have both the things, but in 6 this file is not there. In the 6 this file is not there. Okay. That is how you'll get the version of the operating system. What is the architecture? Uname F1. You see that what is saying? It is a 64-bit architecture. It is a 64-bit architecture, right? Now, whenever I am using, I want to know this operating system version and architecture, because when I download the package, I should know that. Otherwise, which package I should download? Only name is not sufficient. Only version is not sufficient. You should know the operating system version, and you should know the architecture type. Right? That is how you will go with that. Is clear? In Windows, how you'll do? In Windows, you'll go to the computer, right-click, properties, and then you'll say that system is 64-bit, right? So you'll directly see that 64-bit. But Linux, there is no GUI. You have to go with that. And which version we are using? Windows 7, right? So that is how you'll get the operating system version. So in the Windows, you can see the GUI, but there is in Linux, there is no GUI. Means we are not going to use GUI on the server side. There is a GUI, of course, but we are not going to use GUI, because in real time, you'll never work on GUI. You'll work on the black and white screen. Everything happens because everything you need to do the automation, and automation is always done on the command line. So that's why you have to work with that. Okay. So this is how you will get. Now, how to download a software? So let's go and see that. How to download the software on Linux. On the command line, right? GUI, we know that how to download. How to download in GUI? Go to the browser, search for the package, click on that, automatically it will start downloading. But that is not the case in Linux. You have to manually do that. So you have two commands. Now always remember that for any given thing, you should know at least two commands. So if one fails, you should be able to go with the other. So alternative, you should know that. So first command is wget, and then you will give the URL. And another is a curl, and you will say the URL, and then the -o and the package name or the file name. So because we are using, we have to download RPM, that's why I said RPM. Actually, there is no extension. So you can also say that file name. Okay, but you are downloading RPM at this moment. So I am giving the extension RPM. So these are the two commands that you will work in Linux to go and download the package. Because without downloading, you cannot install. Okay, so we'll use this command. Okay, now how to remove a package? So we'll see the practical once we see that. How to remove a package? So we'll say RPM -e and the package name. E stands for erase. Simple. And how to install a package? You say RPM-IVH and the package name. So I stands for install, V stands for verbose, show me more output, which is called as verbose, and H is for show me the progress bar with hash. Hashes. So this is how you will do. So it's a very simple, very straightforward. You can go along with that. So done writing. So ready, steady, go. Okay. So let's remove the package first. Let's see what are the packages I can remove. Looks like I have the VI editor. We can go with that editor. QA. Now I am not able to see that, so I'll filter it out. I'll say grep. Now grep is the command to use to filter out the output. From 100 lines, I want to select the lines which are matching with that particular pattern or word. So I'll say go for Vim. Do we have anything? Yes, we have the Vim. You see that? It is showing that. Now if I say MINI, it will match the mini. If I say match the mull, I will say it is a mull. So it is matching that word. It is trying to match that pattern. It is trying to match that pattern. So it will, whatever the pattern it matches, it will show you the output. So what is the grep? So ladies and what is grep? It is a pattern matching command. So I'll say show cat etc, or I'll say RPM-QA, show me all the list, pipe, and then I'll say grep. So what is that? This is the pattern. So I'll say pattern. Okay. So I'm saying, hey, show me the pattern. Match the pattern. Or word. You can say word or pattern. Right? So what it will filter out the lines which are matching with the pattern or word. Shall we go further? Okay, so what we'll do, we'll try to go with this minimal version or the stuff. So we'll take a note of that. So I'll copy this name. I'll put that name in our file. So I'm going to work with this. So now what is that? Which version? Enterprise Linux and 64-bit version. I need to go and download and work and this and that. Okay, let's go and see that. So I'll remove that file or package. E and the package name. Ready, steady, go. 1, 2, and 3. So what it says? So it says fail. Why it is fail? Now, okay, here we need to understand. As a Linux engineer, as a DevOps engineer, you should be able to understand what is that error. If you don't understand the error, don't go further. Stop there itself. Try to understand what it's trying to say. Once you understand, then you do the corrective action. It is like a doctor. Doctor, what it will understand? You will go to the doctor. Doctor, somewhere is paining. And what doctor will do? He will directly give you the medicine. What it will say? First, it will ask you, where is paining, man? Is it in the stomach or head or in the toe? Yes or no? If you just say paining, it is like just say paining. Where is paining? We don't know. So we have to understand the error message. Failed dependencies. That means some dependency is there from this package to other package, and it is failing in that dependency. What is that dependency? VI minimal is needed by sudo package. That means if you disturb the VIM minimal package, it will also get disturbed the sudo. It will disturb the sudo. This clear? Let's go and see that. So I'll say sudo VI sudo. Now I am able to see something here. Okay. So I'm giving wrong password. Let me give the right password. Here we go. Now you see the editor, it is opening that. Now what we will do, you have seen that we are using the sudo package. We are using the sudo package. It is working currently perfectly fine. Because still the VI editor is available, VI minimal is available. It is saying error, I cannot remove that package. Why? Because it depends for other package. Now it is similar to like that. Let me go back and show me on the screen. Okay, let me go here. Now let's say you assume you have the operating system like a building. And in that building, you have some floors. This is the floor 1 or ground floor, first floor, second floor, and so on, right? So you can keep on adding the floors there. So I'll put some floors. Now you have the floors. Give me a second. Okay, the final line. Yes. Now what happens when you are saying, so you are going with the VI minimal. The package is here and the sudo package is here. So let's say we have the floor number 1, floor number 2, floor number 3, and so on. Floor number 3 here, 4, 5, 6 here. I will not write all the floors. You understand that. Okay. Now what it is saying, if you remove the 3rd floor, you're not able to have access to the 6th floor. Simple. That is what is a dependency. That is what is a dependency. If you disturb something below, it is not going to work at the top. Okay. Now it's up to you that you want to destroy that floor or not. So Linux says that yes, you can destroy that floor also without disturbing the things. That means you can remove that floor and you will disturb the sudo. So it is now it has given me the error because I said go the normal way. So this is clear. What is the dependency? So every package has a dependency list. I am depend on other are depend on me, who is doing what, everything is written in that package. And that is why in our package definition, we have written that. In our package definitions, at the starting, we have said it has a signature. We have written that. Program, sample, these are, oh, we are not written. So let's add that, very good. Dependency information. So every package will also have dependency information. That means if I am breaking one package, it may break the other package. That is what is the dependency breaking. Okay, so we understood that what is dependency. Now let's remove that package. I know that I am going with that, I will break that. Okay, so we will go with that and we will break that. So here is what we have written. I have just added for the people on online. We missed the screen for a couple of seconds. So here is the thing I have added, dependency information. Okay. So we are adding the dependency information. Now what we are going with, again, I will say remove this package, but I will tell the operating system, do not check the dependencies. So I'll say no depths. Means do not check the dependencies. So let's go and write it down. So we'll say, hey, I want to go with the erase the package. So I'll go in the erase package section. I'll say no depths. Now it says, what it says, do not check the, and definitely it will going to break. Definitely it will going to break, but we know that what is breaking. But in real time, warning, if you don't know what you are doing, what it is breaking, do not use this option. In real time, you should not use this option. But it is my duty to show all the yes and known possibilities. So you can push the boundaries and you can forcefully say that, go ahead and delete that, no problem. You can do that. But you have to be very careful. If you don't know what you're doing, don't do that. Simple. If somebody is jumping from 10th floor, if he doesn't know what he's doing, better not to jump off. Right? So if he's jumping inside, it's good. If he's jumping outside, then there is a problem, right? We should know where to jump. So that is what is the no depths. We have to be very clear what we are doing here. Okay, so let's go and with the no depths option. Here we go. What it says. Now again, one more error. What is saying that? Can't create transaction log, these blah, 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 permission denied. Now this indicates that you don't have permissions to run these operations. That means as a normal user, you cannot delete the package. Simple. What you cannot do? You cannot delete the package. Is it clear? Lock? Yes. So what we need to do now? We have to become a root. How to become a root? Yes, sudo. So we talked about that yesterday. So go with that, sudo. Ready, steady, go. And so it will ask me the password. I'll try to give the correct password. Done. Silent. You know that Linux works in silent. It loves to work in silent. You silently remove the package. So if I check now rpm-qa, pipegrep, vim, minimal, I will not get any output. I will not get any output. Why? Because it is gone. Permanently gone. Now anything you removed in the Linux, there is no recycle bin available. So we have to be very careful. You don't think under the Windows notion, oh, there will be some recycle bin available. There is no recycle bin available in Linux. If you delete any file, if you delete any package, it will go on forever. So make sure before deleting, make sure that you have the proper backup of that file if it is important file. Don't directly go and delete the file. Is clear? Got it? So we have to be very, very clear while deleting any file or package because it's gone, really gone, permanently gone. There is no dummy that first I'll delete, it will go to the recycle bin and then I have to empty the recycle bin. No. Once it's gone, gone. We need to understand. Okay. Now we have removed the package. What we have to do? We have to download and install the package. So what is the command to download? We have two commands, right? What command we have written? wget and curl, curl, curl. So I'll say wget and I'll go with that. But is this URL? No. So I need to search that package. So let's go to the internet and search for the package. Hey, download and search for the package. I'll say download my package. Yes. I'll say RPM. It is more fundamental RPM. Hey, search me the package. Good. So it says the package is available here. So I'll click on that. Looks like you're following some bad links. I don't know. I'll go with the CentOS 7. And here is my package, right? So I'll click on that. And I'll see some list here, alternative binaries, these that. Okay. You see here binary package. Now we know that what? Linux is open source. We learned that, right? Now what is open source? You will get both the files. You will get the source file and the target file. So you can get the source file here. You can get the C language file for the VI here. You can open that program, see how it is written beautifully. But we are not worried about that. We are worrying about binaries. That means the commands we want to execute. So I'll go, I'll right click, I'll get the link. I'll copy the link. What I'm doing? I'm copying the link. Now I will download it. Which command you will say? wget and the URL. I'll give the URL. Ready, steady, go. 1, 2, and 3. So what it says? wget command not found. Did we do something wrong? So now here are the two choices you have. Probably you have written the wrong command. You will get the same output, command not found. Let's say give the garbage command. Let's give the garbage command. What do you say? Command not found, right? Is that a command? No, it's a garbage. So what it is saying, it is trying to find that pattern. Where is that command? It's a pattern not found. Command not found. That is the first thing. Either you have misspelled the command or really the command is not installed. I 100% know wget is the command, and when I press it says command not found. That means this command is not installed. This command is not installed. We will install it shortly, but currently it is not installed. Clear? So then what we need to do? We need to go for the second part. What is that? Curl. So we'll go curl and then go for the URL and then output file. And what is my output file? This is my output I am expecting. So vi minimal version number .rpm is my file name. Okay. Shall I press enter? So what it will do? It will go to the internet. It will connect to that URL. It will download the file and it will store that file in this with this name. Ready, steady, go. 1, 2, and 3. So it is going, trying 1, trying 2, trying 3, 4, 5, 100, 200. It is trying to go with that. So it is downloading. Done. So it has downloaded the package. Let's go and see that. Really it is downloaded. ls-l or ls vi minimal. Yes. I see that the package is downloaded now. The package is downloaded successfully. Now what I need to do? I need to install the package. Right? What is the command to install? What is the command to install? RPM -ivh and the package name what we have installed. We have downloaded this package. We'll go with that. Ready, steady, go. Is this command is correct? Everything is fine. Enter. What is happening? Again, it says transaction log permission denied. What is that meaning? As a normal user, I am normal user. Who am I? DevOps user. As a normal user, you cannot install a package. So you have to become a root. You have to give the sudo. So we'll go with the sudo. Ready, steady, go. Here we go. And here is the password for the sudo. You see that? It has installed. Now that hash, this is the progress bar. That is due to the H. That is due to that H, IVH. We have mentioned that IVH, right? Now what I will do, I will remove the package again. I will say RPM-E, remove the package, and don't tell me anything. It has removed the package. Okay. Oh, so it is not removed. Say -, no depths. So it has removed the package again. Now we will install the package without H. I'll remove that H. Ready, steady, go. There is no progress bar. That 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 100. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 100. No, you will not see the progress bar. Okay, I will remove the package again. Now I will remove the V also. I will go with that. So it says warning done, khatam. But if the package is good, everything, it will also not give the warning. It will just install that. So only with the -I is a silent installation. What is that? Silent installation. V means give me some more output. H means show me the progress. If the package is bigger, it will say 10%, 20%, 30%, something like that. It will go 10, 20, 50, whatever stuff. It will show the progress. So this is all about the package installation. Okay. Now, what are the things we did here? What are the things we did here? As an overall perspective, what we did? First, get the package name, what we have to download. Then we have to check the architecture. Then check the version of OS. Second, what we did is search on internet. Third thing, we download the package. Fourth thing, we have installed the package. Package without dependencies. So these are the things available, right? The same thing you do in Windows also, right? Suppose you want to install MS Office, what you will do? You'll search MS Office on the internet. Of course, it's a big package, you may not search, but I'm saying you'll search in the internet, you will download it, you'll double click, you'll install, and it will work. So whatever we are doing, the same thing. Searching the package, correct package, downloading it from the internet, installing it and working with that. Correct? But this is not the real power of Linux. This is the manual way we are doing that. And this is, we are learning if in case your automatic work fails, you can work with this manual way. That is why you have to learn the manual way first. And then we will learn the automatic way, that how to do that. Now, what is the problem here? I have to go with the internet, I have to search, get the exact architecture, get the version and these and that. And then I have to download and then install. How about that everything is happen automatically? How about that if everything happen automatically? So that is possible. Now, we are going to learn the concept of YUM. What is the YUM? YUM is a repository management tool. Yellow Dog Update Manager. What is that? Basically, it's a repository management tool. Now, what is a repository? It is a collection. It is a location where we can find collection of packages or files. In this location, we can find a collection of packages or files. In our case, it is a package. It is a location for collection of packages because we are dealing with the package. But there are some repositories which will only deal with the files. But in general term, I am saying repository. Okay, so it's a location where. Now let's understand what is the problem in real time and what we are trying to achieve here. Okay, so let's go and understand that what I will go with the method and we'll go with that. So I'll clear the screen, all drawings. Okay, no problem. Now what I will do, I will draw something here. Now let's say this is the US repository where all the packages are created by Red Hat. Okay. And here in India, we are sitting here with our laptop. Now what happens when I search? I go to the internet, it gets somewhere from internet, maybe in US, UK, Australia, India, anywhere it goes. When I click, I downloaded it that, right? So I know that there is a repository. So what Red Hat did, if everybody is coming to the US, then there is a problem. So what they did, they created some mirror locations. What they did, they created some mirror locations. Now these mirror locations are available throughout the world. These are the multiple mirror locations which is available. So let's say Red Hat US. This mirror location is available in UK. This may be available in India. This may be available in Australia and so on. So what it is, so they did and they created a mirror location. That means exact copy of the software is available also in this location. Okay, so now we have made our time half. Instead of going to US, now you can easily go to the India. Very good, very good. Now in India also we may have multiple locations. In India also we may have multiple locations. And that locations may be somewhere in our area. Let's say Delhi capital, or it may be in Hyderabad, or it may be in Bangalore or Pune, something like that. Because of course the mirror location is suitably near to the IT hub location, right? Because most of the activities will happen from that end. Now again, it is automatically synchronized every day, every night, from here to here, from here to here, from here to here. Now we are in Hyderabad. So very good. We have the very good center nearby the Hyderabad. Now how about that? The same location is available in our office itself, right? So it is possible that you can have the location near to your office. So you can go here, you can put the location near the office. That means from the Hyderabad location, I can go and can say, hey, I want the mirror location in my office. And from that, now I will download the package. I will say, hey, go here and download the package. Good. So what it reduced? It reduces the download time. It reduces the download time, right? So internet connection is 4 Mbps, 8 Mbps, something like that. But your intranet connection, our office connection is 1 GB. How much? 1 GB. So you can see that how tremendous speed we can get. Internal office files will get very fast. In a fraction of seconds, you can get the files. Outside, you may have 4 Mbps, 6 Mbps, 8 Mbps, or whatever. 4 Mbps. Very slow connection. Right? So people want to save the time in downloading the software. That's why they create a mirror location in their offices also. In real time, in your offices, you'll have some mirror location. If it is not there, please go and create as a DevOps engineer. Learn how to create that. There is a separate site. You can learn how to create. It's very simple. But you can create the location. Now, first, what is the advantage? What you did? Save time. Save download time, right? Now, what is the second advantage? Let's go and see that. Let's say this my office mirror location is down. What will happen? It will automatically go to Hyderabad location, Delhi location, or Bangalore location. If that is also down, it will go to the India location, some centralized location. If that is also down, it will go to the UK, Australia. If everything goes down, it will go to the US. So nearly there are 5,000 locations available for the mirror locations. How many locations? So it is highly difficult that you will go to the US anytime. Always you will some in the middle where you will download something there. That is the advantage you will get. Automatic failover. You see that? Interesting. Now another interesting thing. Let's say you go and install the package in Windows. What you will do? You'll go to the internet. You'll download the file. Once you download the file, what is the first action you will take? Run the file. Very good. Any other? Once you download the file, what the first action you should take? Install it. Okay. Any other action? Pardon? Yes. You will first scan with antivirus, right? You should not do directly installation. Double click, start working. It will damage your system. What it will do? Damage your system. So we don't have antivirus in Linux. Then what we should do? So somebody came and they hacked the server. Let's say they hacked the server. Which server? Let's say I assume they hacked this server. They hacked the server or they hacked this server. Now you are downloading the file. What will happen? They tampered the file, they cracked the file, they modified the file. What will happen? In their system, you may have chances of virus. But no. Linux has inbuilt protection. What is that? What it will do once it download the package, it will go to US, and it will check the signature of the file. It will download what? It will download the signature of the package. And it will match the signature of the package with the package. Hey, is this matching? No. And then what it will do? It will not install the package. Simple. No need of antivirus. No need of antivirus. Simple protection. Simple protection is that for every package, you will have one unique signature. Signature means some information. That you will have some unique information. That information need to match with the package information. If that is matching, your package is good. If that is not matching, the package is tampered or modified. So it will immediately throw that package. Oh, I don't know what is that. It will go and not install the package. See the inbuilt protection, right? So this is where you will get the advantage. Now using repositories, you can get how many packages? By default, you can get a lot of packages. Nearly 20,000 plus packages are already certified, verified package you will get. How many packages? 20,000 plus packages you will get. Verified and certified. So you know that I will not go with the virus. Always I will check the virus automatically. If any change, any happens, it will protect you from the damage. So this is the inbuilt protection given by the Red Hat and the package. So this is clear? So this is how it will save the time. It will protect you from the tampered file, and it will, if one location fails, it will go for alternative locations. That is the advantage, and that is what you want. I don't want the headache. Now, if you are installing one package and that package need another package, which is called as the dependencies. So it will also check the dependencies. Hey, that package is not installed. Shall I install that? Yes. It will also download the dependencies, and then it will install all the packages. It will make sure that everything works cleanly. That is what is the advantage you will get with the Yum. That is what the advantage you will get with the Yum. So this is clear? Okay, so let's go back and let's write it down. What are the advantages? Number one, fast file download or package download. So I'll say advantages. And in interview, they will ask, hey, why you are going Yum? So you should be able to tell that. Number two, failover. So you can fail over. Number three, what? Virus protection. So failover means if it fails one location, it will go automatically to the second location. So it's a failover. That is what? Or get alternative automatically. Okay, get alternative. Failover. That is what is a failover. Virus protection. I'll get the protection or tampered protection. And auto dependency check and install. It will check the dependencies automatically. You don't have to worry about dependencies. Great. So these are the advantage you will get. right? So this is a very, very important aspect feature of the Linux. That's why Linux is virus-free operating system. It's very robust, it's very stable, but still we don't use in our desktops and laptops. Why? Because we don't know about that. We love viruses, but we don't love security, right? Cool, right? Okay, so let's go further. 20,000, yeah. So all type of packages like a video player, text editors, program files, then you may have Eclipse or some other tools, right? So you have various tools available for you for your work. So whatever the package you need, like in Windows, what packages you install? CorelDRAW, WordPress, or MS Office, something, right? Similar kind of package you will available there. Yes, these all are free, open source package. All are free, right? That's why if you are gone, you will see that. Oh, okay. Now, how many of you are you playing video on VLC player? Most of you, right? So VLC player is directly freely available here. You can download, install, play the videos in the stuff. How many of you are using torrent? All our hands are good. So you can use the torrent client here, no problem. And torrent is what? Sharing the files over internet with the fast speed. That is what is the torrent. So I will not say use illegal software. I will say download legal software with the torrent, no problem. You can do that. Okay. So these are the advantages. 20,000 plus packages you will able to get. And what are those packages? These are utility packages. These are the very beautiful packages available for your disposal. And those all are free of cost. You don't have to pay a single rupee on that. I will not say 10 paisa, 20 paisa because that has no value now. Rupee has at least some value. So I'll say you have to not pay 1 rupee also. Okay. Now, when we are working with that, we have seen various repositories, India repository, Hyderabad repository, Office repository. Now, where is that information stored? So it is stored in the particular directory. So where are my repository information file? So this is in this directory. And the file extension is .repo files. This is the extension. Okay. Now, what is that in that file? So I'll say base.repo as an example. In that, you'll have a section name. Then you'll say name is equal to section description. Then you'll have mirror URL, or you can say base URL. Any one you should use. So generally, it goes mirror URL. And you will say GPG check is equal to 1, 1 is equal to enabled, 0 is equal to disabled. By default, it is GPG check. GPG check means what? Signature check. That signature check is enabled. And you say enabled is equal to 1 to enable or disable that section. Or enable or disable given section. If you want to disable that particular section, you can say that enabled equal to 0. So that section will get disabled. In one file, you may have multiple sections. Okay. So in one file, in one repo file, you may have multiple sections. Okay, now that your repo, what can be my repo? What can be my repo? It can be in other country. It can be in your office. It can be in your laptop. Either CD-ROM or pen drive. So you can build your repo anywhere. It can be in other country, it can be in your office, or it can be in your laptop also. Okay, if you have the pen drive, CD drive, you can create that as a repo. Think that, hey, if I'm installing the package, first see my CD-ROM. Where to see first? Yes. So what is these files? .repo are pointer files. These are what? Pointer files. Means it will show the direction. Go here, go here, go here, go here. That's all the direction. So this is clear. These are the pointer files. It's just pointing. Point to the CD-ROM, point to the URL, point to the office location, point to the US location, wherever. It's just the pointers. Okay. Now let's go and see that file. Done writing? So let's go and see the files. What is there? So which directory? PC yum.repos.d. So I'll go to that directory. CD means change directory. I'll go to that directory. I'll say ls, and you see the files. CentOS base, fast track, vault, media, source, and this is that. So I'll open the base file. I'll say vi CentOS base, and we'll see that. Now, basically, this is what is the one section. This is what is the one section. This is the another section. So each file can have multiple sections. Now here you see that GPG check is equal to 1, and GPG key file. Key file means where is the secret information. It is stored in that file. Okay, we'll go along with that. Is clear? Now here you can see that enabled is equal to 0. You see there, enabled is equal to 0. So what it says? It is saying that this is disabled. This particular section is disabled. Okay. Now what do you need to do? Now we need to install the packages. So I'll remove the package. Which package we have installed? Vim, right? I'll go and I'll remove that package. So I'll remove that package. Now I have removed that package. Now I'll use the yum to install that package. I'll use the yum. So automatically it should go to the internet. Automatically it should down the. Let's go and see that. A sudo. I need to be a root to install. I'll say yum install and the package name. That's all. What I have to say? Yum install package name. So automatically it will go to the internet. Automatically it will download the package. Automatically it will install the package. Okay. So let's write it down. How to install a package? Or we can say what are different yum command options. We say yum install name, yum remove the package name, yum info package name, yum list out all the package. We'll go with that. I'll say get me the information about the package. Same like RPM. Get the list of packages. Right? Similar to that, but now where it is searching? It is searching on the internet. Now it will also give the information about not installed packages. If you didn't install the package, but if you still want to find out the information, you can get the information because it is now searching on the internet. Now your search is vast. Previously with the RPM, you can only search in the machine. With the RPM, what you can do? Only search in the machine. But now with the yum, you can search in whole world. Right? That's the option you'll get. Good. Now there is a special repository which is called as the EPEL repo. Now you should must understand this. What is the EPEL? It is the extra packages for enterprise Linux. So here you will get some extra packages with that. And how will you enable that repository? You'll say yum install EPEL release. You will get the extra packages using that repository. Now with this, what you will do? You will install 2 more pointers. It will install 2 more .repo files under that repo directory first, and then it will go and search in that repository also. So we will go with that first. Ready, steady, go. Shall we go with the EPL repo first? Pardon? Which one? Huh. EPEL repo. EPL test repo. We'll see that. Don't worry. We'll see that. Right? We will go and have the repo installation. Don't worry. We have to see that. Without seeing, we are not able to complete that. So shall we go? Okay. So let's go here. Now, first I will go with the EPEL repo. So how many repos we have currently? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now when I say install EPEL repo, it will add 2 more. So yum install EPEL release. Ready, steady, go. There we go. So now it is going to the internet. It is searching for that package and it is installing that EPEL release package. But that EPEL release package has 2 repo files. So now it is searching for fast mirror. You see that? Automatically it is loading the plugins, fast mirror. It is going with the base and blah, 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 and get that. Now for this, you need a good internet connection, okay? Because it is going and searching on internet. So you should have internet connections. So that is important. If you don't have internet connection, this will not work. Right? So you have to get the internet connection working. Work. So looks like we have some question here online. Here we go. Can you please share the notepad along with that? No, it is not possible to share. So I apologize for that because it is expected that you will write and everything is available in the video. If you want, you can take a note from there. Chaitanya, please. Okay. So I apologize for that. Okay. So basically now you are downloading the files and you are working with that. Okay, so here it is downloading now all the necessary items. Then it will search on the internet. It will get the EPEL release and it will do the 2 files. It will install the 2 files there. Okay, so 0 1 second ETA done. Yes. So now what it will do, it will download, but it will ask me the question, do you want to download? And then do you want to install? Then we have to say yes or no. Depending upon choice, we will go with that. So it is, hey, now it is load determining the fastest mirror location. So what is that? So what happened? So it says nothing to do. Error. What does mean? So there are 2 meanings. Either the package is not there or we have typed the wrong name. We have given the wrong name. We know that. So I'll say RELEASE, release, right? We'll go with that. Now it is going and downloading the things. Okay. Now it says, hey, downloading. What is the download size? And what is the install size? Why there is a difference? It is a compressed form. We will say not zip, but it is a compressed form. So the package is in the compressed form. So that's why it is a 14K. Shall we download it? Yes. Shall we install it? Yes. So downloading the package, automatically it will download now and it will install the package. Okay, now you see that what is happening? What is there? It is checking the signature. It says, hey, I don't know the signature. And what is the signature? This is what is the signature. This is what is the signature of that file. Now, if this is matching or not matching, we don't know. It says, I don't have signature. Can I download the signature and compare? Yes or no? Yes, we'll go with that. Yes, of course, yes. Without that, it's not good. So now it is running and done. Installation is done. Now, this is the first time it is going and cross-checking a lot of things and going with that. With the EPEL repo and so on, right? Next time, which package? wget package was not there. Right? When we type wget, oh, so we're going with that. First, we will complete this EPEL. ls and I'll go. Now, how many files are we have? 2 more files, right? What is that? EPEL repo and EPEL testing. Right? So, which 2 files it has installed? These 2 files. Clear? Lot? Now I will do something interesting. I'll say yum repo list. I'll say go to all repositories, the 7, 8, 9, 10, whatever repositories, collect the information and tell me how many packages you can install. I'll go with that. It will go to internet. So it is trying to download. Now you see that EPEL repo downloading. So new repo found. It is downloading the. So now it says failing. You see that? Automatically it's a failover. If first location fails, it is automatically going to the second locations. If second fails, it is going to the third location. So this is the beauty of that. This is the beauty of this. So it will keep on going, searching for the right perspective, right information. It will keep on trying and it will make sure that you have the good files, complete file available with you. Right? So this is the good example that if it fails, it will automatically go to the next location. You don't have to worry about, because everywhere the mirror location is the same copy, right? So you don't have to worry. It will go and copy that. Good. 13 seconds, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So what is my internet speed? What is my internet speed? No, it is not 5 Mbps. It is a file 4.8 MB. It is not a speed. 26 kbps. Really? No, that is the file size it is trying to get. Okay. So now you can see the information. What is the information you see here? And what is the total packages you can work with? Right? So now it is giving access to 22,000 packages. I'll say, Sunil, I don't know what are the packages it's going to show. We can see that. You say yum list. That's all. It will show me all the list 1, 2, and 3. Yeah, go there. It will go and get the entire list. All 22,000 packages list is done. You see that? It has shown you the 22,000 plus packages list available at this moment. This is just a list. It is not downloading the package. It is just the name of the package. Now you can search what package you want. I want wget. So we'll go with that. How to install that now? I'll say yum install wget. That's all. Of course, I need to do sudo. Now you may have noticed whenever it is going and installing, it is asking yes, no, yes, no, yes, no all the time, right? So I'm fed up of that question. I'll say don't ask that question. Whatever it says, say yes to that. So I can say, hey, go with the -y. -y means Take the answer as yes. Don't ask me any question. 1, 2, 3. And we'll go with that. So now going with the fast mirror, checking up that. Metalink. Good. Again, it's going to the internet. It is trying to get the best package, whatever is available. It's going with that. Now your internet connection should be good because it will frequently download some information from internet. And that's how you will install the wget package. So now you don't have to search on internet. You don't have to do anything. This is doing for you. This all things is done for you. Is available there. All genuine virus-free packages are available now with you. How many packages? 22,000 something, right? Now you can add more repos also. There are available more repos also. You can add that. So it is not that this is the limited thing. You can have your own office repo. You can have a lot of things there. Loading mirror speed, caching host file. Okay, go. Get the quickly. Yes. Now it is not asking me the question yes or no. You see that? It directly started downloading. You see that what is the size? 574 kilobytes. But what is the install size? 2 MB. Yes, done. So packages install. Now if I say wget, it says missing URL. It is giving me that. Right now it is running the command wget because it is available now. So this is clear? Okay. So this is all about the package management. So either you can do manually using RPM, or if you want to do it automatically, you go for the EPEL repo and yum. So it will do for a yum to work, you need to have internet connection. Without that, it will not work. This is clear? Any other questions? Any other thing you want to bring it out? Pardon? For apology for that, I have not said anything. This is the first session. This is the second session. We are going with the first was the user management and this stuff. That is what we will go after this session. That's why I said wait for time. And the members who are already registered and done, please sit in the lab and do the practice. But the members who are new to this DevOps, please wait, because after this we are going to explain things about the DevOps and give overall view of what is the DevOps and other stuff, right? So the today's class is over. So any questions you can ask, no problem. But after these questions and answer sessions, I'll request the new members to hold back in the session. Even for the online people and offline people, we are sitting in the class. Please wait. And for the members who already joined, please sit in the lab and start doing the practice of that. So any questions from online? Any questions from the class? How to know internet speed? You have to download a file and see that, right? When it is downloading, it is saying 126, 127, right? So that you have to divide it by 8 or multiply by 8, depends on how you are. It is Mbps or kbps. Okay, any questions? So looks like no questions. So I will stop here. For the members who already joined, please sit in the lab and start doing the practice. For the members who joined today, please wait in the session. So we'll have something on that. So I'll take a minute break and then we'll go with that. Okay. Thank you. Homework. So I'll say practice this. This is the main homework, right? So first we have to get the hands-on things, get the practice of that, and try to do something there. Okay. So we'll stop here and we will continue tomorrow with more details on the other sections. Yes, please. Notepad, okay. Something is missing, right? So please wait for the session. So class is done. So members who join new, please wait. Other, we can move. So the members who are joined online and here in the class. So we are going with the DevOps demo. That is what is exactly a DevOps, why we are going with the DevOps and so on, right? Let's understand. So DevOps stands for like infrastructure automation. Okay, and it is specifically used in the software industry. Okay. Now the question can come: what is the infrastructure? So infrastructure is nothing but a collection of your different servers, like web server, database servers, your email servers, Jenkins servers, and so on. So what you have to do, you have to collect all of them together. You have to make the connectivity and actions between each of them in an automated way. Now, when you are working with the development companies, there are maybe a lot of developers, developer one, developer two, developer and so on. A lot of developers are there. Now, these developers will develop some code. That code may be in the Java, C, PHP, and so on. Okay, so they will develop a code and they will store the code in some place. Let's say the example of game company. Let's say you are working for the company called as a Candy Crush. They are creating a Candy Crush game. Now we know that in the Candy Crush game, there may be 1,000 levels available in that. Now, how many developers we need to develop these 1,000 levels? The company will not hire 1,000 people there. For one level, one person, no. So it may possible that one developer may working on multiple different levels and he is developing. Let's say from 1 to 10, one person, from 10 to 100, some other person, something like that. They keep on working with that. Now they will combine the code and they will store the code in some repository, which is called as a SCM, which is called as a source code management tool. So it is better I will put it in diagram, that way it will help, and go with that. Clear all this diagram. So you have the developers. A lot of developers are developing the code, and those developers will put the code into the repository called as a source code management tool. It's called as a SCM. Okay. Now this SCM can be as various types or softwares. Basically, it's a software. So what is the software? It can be your Git or SVN or Perforce or ClearCase or something. You have a lot of software. Now, once you put the software there, you will mix up all the levels together, because individual level is not a game. Individual level is not complete game. So in order to make the complete game, you have to mix all the code together. And that phase is called as the integration phase. That phase is called as a integration phase. And in our technical term, we call it as CI. CI means continuous integration. So that is why the term you see CI/CD, CI/CD, CI/CD. What is the CI? CI means continuous integration. It is a continuous integration. Now with this continuous integration, you are creating a package, and that package is a complete package. That package is a complete package, and that complete package is called as artifact. The complete package is called as artifact. Okay, so that artifacts can contain anything. That artifacts can contain many things. What is that? So let's say if it is a game, what it will contain? It will contain the game code. It will contain the sound files, animation, and so on, right? Video files and so on. So that is why it is called as an artifact. It is not called as a package or something. It is called as an artifact because it is a collection of many things. Now, these artifacts is implemented on various environments. These artifacts can be implemented on various environments like QA environment, test environment, pre-production environment, and so on. And lastly, then it will go to the production environment. So you say this is the production environment. Now production is what? Money-making item. This is the production. This may be a QA. This may be a test. So there are different environments. You will go and you will implement the product. This is like a pre-production or something like that. And you'll go and this is a production. Okay. Now, as a DevOps engineer, what is your role? You have a role from monitoring and managing this whole pipeline. Your role is to get this complete pipeline from here to here, from the developer to the production. The moving of the code should be seamless. The moving of the code is seamless. So that you need to do. For that, you are using various tools. For continuous integration, you maybe use like tools like Jenkins, Hudson, Bamboo, TeamCity, and so on. A lot of tools are available at the CI portion, CI/CD. A lot of tools are available there. Now, when you are working with the pipeline, you have to go with the configuration management tools, CM tools. Configuration management tools. What is that? Chef, Ansible, Puppet, SaltStack, and so on. You are going and you are working with those tools there. Right? So we'll go with the configuration management. Suppose you want to do something development or some actions on the development side, on this side. So you use the tool called as a Vagrant. The tool called as a Vagrant. If you want to do something on the production side, you will use the tool Docker. Use the tool Docker. And that is why in our course, we will cover all these sections. One tool from each section. So what are the tools we are going to cover? Let's write it down. So I'll go back. I'll say, what are the tools we are covering? We are covering Git. We are covering Linux. We are covering shell scripting. We are covering LAMP setup, Linux Apache MySQL. We are covering Chef. We are covering Jenkins, Maven, Nexus. We are covering Vagrant. We are covering Docker and so on. Right? So we are covering lots and lots of tools in this, which will build a complete pipeline. Which will build a complete pipeline. One tool from each section. There may be multiple tools in one category, but we are not bothered about that. We will go with the tools which are 80% used in the market. So you can easily go and get the job, because our aim is to get the job. And whatever is a fit to job, we are going to focus on that. Okay. Now, who can join these sessions? The people, they have no Java knowledge, no programming knowledge, they can join. The people who have no Linux knowledge, they can join. They can come here. We will be teaching all these things. The people who are freshers, they can join, because they will get a lot of tools and introduction to a lot of tools. So they can apply for various positions like Linux administrator, web administrator, database administrator, script writer, automation engineer, so and so, long positions are. So you can go with that. If you are experienced, you can go with the experience, like somebody is working in testing, somebody is working as a DBA, you can change over your job. Definitely you can take the advantage of that. Now, how much experience you can show after this, or you can get, you'll say 2+ years of experience, you'll get that. And if you want more experience, definitely there is a route. You have to learn 2 more languages. Either one language, you can say Python or Ruby. Okay, that is not part of our course. But if you want to get more, you have to learn at least one language, good. And you have to learn cloud, AWS or Azure or Google Cloud. You can learn any cloud, and then you can have higher experience, 3, 4, 5, whatever you want. Right? Because as the more number of experience you show, the expectations are more. They will demand more information, more knowledge from these areas and these tools. Right? So our course is targeted for 2+ years of experience. You will get a real-time 2+ years of experience, information, knowledge, and hands-on experience with that. So this is what is, in a nutshell, is a DevOps. So DevOps is what? What is that? It is a automation. Which automation? Infrastructure automation. And typically this is used in the companies which are software development companies. Okay. So any question, any doubt at this moment? Now, how much time we are taking? We are going to cover this whole thing with the 45 days, and every session is nearly 2 hours course. So nearly 90 hours it goes. Right? So it is not a small course. We have a lot of topics. We have a lot of things to cover. So we are going in each subject, each topic in a better way, so that whenever you go to the interview, you will be able to crack the interview. Right? So this is all about DevOps. This is all about DevOps. Basically, it's the infrastructure automation. Now, people say that when came DevOps. So DevOps is not today's technology. It came in 2007, 2008. I started working with the 2008 on the DevOps. Right? So at that time, all the tools were there, but not mature. Now the tools are very mature, very good. And recently, Docker got introduced. In 2013, Docker came into the market, and it has revolutionized the virtualization. It is called as thin virtualization. Now it is leaving behind the other competitors like VMware and these and that in the production area. So it is very good tool available in the Okay, any other questions, any other things that you want to bring it up? Online, classroom? So I will request that please put your questions because this is the right time. If you go on the internet, then you will have a lot of directions and misdirections. So this is the right time that you can join here, ask the question at this moment, right? So any questions here? And also I will request that go on this channel. We have information about uh, we have the DevOps introduction. Go to the channel, right? And you can search for Naresh IT DevOps. You'll be able to get the first video. And this is the video that you can say. So it's a very good deep information available. So you can go through that and you can get those information. Okay. So if no questions, then I will stop here because we have another session in a couple of minutes. So that's all about the DevOps and the introduction to the DevOps. Okay, so then if no questions, thanks for all your time. We will see you in the next session soon. Take care and have a wonderful time. Bye-bye.